today's subject is no birth, no death. Okay. The process of incarnation, when animals, humans, any kind of life form, you see the process of incarnation. So in this plane of existence we see all these different incarnations. There is no birth and no death, meaning that when you see a cloud, we think the cloud is dying, the cloud is passing, but really the cloud turns into rain. So this is how reincarnation actually, there's no individual reincarnating. What's really going on is simply that the consciousness is reincarnating. So Ellen Watts used to say that there's no person incarnating. There's no memories, no personal identity, no I'm a man, I'm a woman, all this kind of stuff does not transfer. Really it is just God who is reincarnating. So what this means is the consciousness reincarnates, but the memories don't. The ego does not transfer. So actually it's not that all these different humans or animals or whatever it may be, it's not that it's not that our soul goes to a different body. It's actually that there's only life reincarnating, if that makes sense. So in this way you can see that it's all just life expressing itself and transforming in different ways and flowing, just the Tao of life flowing, and there's no real identities that are involved in that process. Another great example is like you see a tree, and this tree grows the fruit, and do we think that the fruit is going to die? No, the fruit becomes eaten and it goes into our digestive system and we poop it out and the fruit goes into the seeds go into the ground again and they become a new tree. So another example, fire does not die. Fire turns into ash and it turns into smoke, and the smoke becomes one with the air. Another example, music doesn't die. Music is just a vibration that goes into the atmosphere and it just is. So one thing I want to touch on is, let's look at it this way. If something was to die, that means where would anything disappear to? Think about this. If you were to die, where would you go to? Where is nothing? You see, there's no place where there is nothing. Nothing is not a place. You can't go to anywhere where there's nothing. There's no nothing place, nothing land. So, in other words, where would anything go to? You cannot go anywhere and stop existing. There's only existence. So this is why in the previous video I was mentioning the link between prana and consciousness, or should I say like the great spirit in prana. The reason why I mentioned that is because the consciousness, the spirit within everything truly pervades everything, especially within the Buddhist philosophy and within the Hindu parameters. They see that because the consciousness is in everything, you gotta understand that the link between prana and consciousness is that if you look at a cloud, when the cloud becomes rain or fog or mist, or when some element is changing and reincarnating, you can see that it happens so smoothly. Like when you see a cloud becoming rain is the perfect example, because when you see that happening, you wonder, how does that spirit go into the rain? Because it just happens in the physical, like this, whip, it changes. So how does that happen? Well, when you realize that consciousness is the life force, you realize this pranic connection that it has, that actually it's the whole life force of your being that is being transmitted into this new form or shape, but we are the shapeless, so we are just shapeshifters. We are taking a new form, but you have to not identify with the forms that you are taking, because you are not the form. You see, you are the timeless, the shapeless. So what we need to understand is just that there is no birth and no death. The only thing that reincarnates is the consciousness. Now I'm out here like talking to myself like a madman in the jungles of Costa Rica. Nothing new here. It's extremely difficult to convey these truths because this stuff is 5,000 years old minimum, and the people who invented this philosophy, they were much more advanced than we are today, and trying to convey this with words is like trying to fucking write a poem with a rock. It's not easy, that's for sure. But what is enlightenment if not our natural state? Like, if you think about what enlightenment is, it's our natural state as humans. And so also that's the destructive thing, is thinking that, oh, my Guruji, my guru, he is my guru and he is enlightened, but I can never be like him, where in truth everyone is enlightened. Your dog is enlightened. The leaves on this tree are all enlightened. But so I think to say that we can never attain this state, or like as if enlightenment is some great achievement, is probably the biggest mistake we can make. Whereas what you really need to tune into is, well, what can I do right now to recognize that I am already, that this is actually what I am is enlightenment, you know? And that enlightenment is not an achievement, but it's my true being. Rather than thinking the other way around, which doesn't make much sense. Because that is your true self. At the end of the day, that state of enlightenment is your real self. And whether you think that or not doesn't really make any difference. And it's a good way to think about the true self, because when you think of it as enlightenment, I feel like that is a method that you can use to get rid of that perspective that we are talking about, the perspective of of mistaking and thinking of enlightenment as an achievement. The way that you can counteract that is by, I think that's a good way to do it, by instead of just thinking about the self as consciousness, you can use words like love or supreme being, but you can also add enlightenment, because then it shows to your ego that you can work with your ego and show it that actually what is the truth is that the enlightenment is the true state of your being, and that the ignorance and the ego, all this covering up, that's what's covering up your real being. And what better place than here in nature to realize that? I feel like when I'm amongst them, which makes totally sense, but definitely when I'm in the mountains, especially when I spent 8 months in India, in the Himalayas, any kind of mountains or nature area, besides nature being literally God, it's just so obviously you feel more in tune, and it's easier to crack the heart a little bit open and be more just aware. I feel like just the look of mountains, right? Just the look of a misty mountainous area just makes you more, I don't know, just feel like you want to meditate all day. From all this rain. Anyways, so yeah, I feel like actually like nature is what makes almost a holy man, you know what I mean? Like nature almost makes people spiritual. There's something about being here immersed in the jungle that just makes you more introspective and drop your role, and it tunes you. I don't know why it makes you more spiritual, but it just does, kind of being in the jungle. There's something about it. I mean, maybe just the peace, the tranquility of being in nature, and the beauty as well. I feel like the beauty of being in the mountains, especially the beauty. I'm a very visual human being. I feel like watching beauty makes me feel my internal beauty, you know?